Cogdill, 2300 West 3rd Street. We had a very disturbing report written by one of our local smut writers, Jack Porter, on a Mr. Daniel Longoria. Mr. Daniel Longoria, for 24 years, has never been in trouble. For 18 different agencies he has worked, and he is a gang expert. All psychiatrists and psychologists, not all of them could sit there and reach into the depths of some of our kids' souls and pull them out of the gangs. This man here, and I say this to the public because I had several phone calls today and several emails today trying to destroy this man that is in our community that is reaching out and grabbing the kids that nobody else can find. Now, if he just saves one, just one, that means that 10 times his salary will be saved in our tax dollars. And one kid is going to be saved. This man walked their shoes. This man has sat there and has an understanding and can reach into those kids. Now, for the community that got a hold of me today, I know what your feelings are. And I'm very sorry about that. Because you're not looking deeper than what you saw on that smut magazine on the internet. Give this man a chance. Let him save our kids. And I am very disappointed in some of the phone calls I got about this man today, because this community is better than that. We can give this guy a chance. And the reason we can, because we are a community. We don't turn our backs. The rehab and the prison system has 7 out of 10 that goes back into prison. He's one of the 3 that made it, and he's still paying society back by saving all our kids, as many as he can.
I'm a drug and alcohol counselor working in your management, and I specialize in drug and alcohol addictions services. I'm a student at Fresno State University. I received my AA in English, and I decided to change my pursuit of education towards psychology, and I'm I think about 1.5 years away from getting my BA. But first and foremost, I have to say I'm a drug addict, I'm an alcoholic, and I'm an ex-gang member as well. I'm getting teared up thinking about this. The past kind of comes back, right? I met Daniel when I was 16 years old. Everybody that I've talked to, every principal, every cop, everybody that threatened me into it, right, to stop this aggressive behavior, I could care less about. Because I couldn't relate to them, you see. They didn't understand what I was going through, and they weren't from it. I couldn't relate to my family. I couldn't tell them the things I was doing, or the friends I had lost, and the anger that I felt inside. When I met Daniel, all that changed. I found someone I could aspire to be like. Someone that went through it, that wasn't just talking about it. Anybody else that told me it, I wouldn't give them the respect or the time of day or listen to what they had to say. Daniel cut through it all. And he showed me, you're not lying to anybody else but yourself. That's what he said to me. You know, you're not hurting me. You're not hurting anyone else. You're hurting yourself, Ricky. That's what helped me change. To come out of that addiction, to come out of that gang lifestyle, was seeing it. Seeing it, he got to the epoch of his career. You understand? No one else can teach you that. No one else can tell you that. And he shows you that. He showed me that there's nothing in it at the end, Ricky. There is no payout. There's no grand day. There's no parade. It's just suffering and pain. But you don't have to, is what he said. He said, it's your choice. I ran into him several years later after I received counseling from him. And I continued in my addiction, but the words that he gave me haunted me. And it wasn't the same anymore. I was still in that lifestyle for several years, and everything I saw was different. I looked at everything with a clear mind, and they'd be partying, and we'd have parties, and we'd be there with guns and all this stuff, and I just thought we're addicts. You know? And we all come from broken homes, and all this stuff that he taught me. And it just wasn't the same anymore. I met him on the street, and he's the one that got me into counseling, actually. I was receiving my AA in English at the time. And he said, Ricky, I have some people in the group home that I'm working with young men. You know, would you like to? At first I was apprehensive about going. But he said, don't worry about it. He said, you know, you just go and talk to them and tell them about yourself a little bit. You know, I got to work with 3 individuals. And all of them loved Daniel. I guarantee you they wouldn't have talked to me if it wasn't for Daniel's good word in there. And these are kids that I know their backgrounds. I can't speak to that effect, but I can tell you that these are children. These are 17, 16-year-olds that had went through the same things I went through and had been through a hard path. And they found hope in Daniel. He had to leave, and I remember all the kids were telling me, asking about him, crying, right, wanting him back, wondering what was going on, because he was the only one that kind of connected with them. There was a lot of good staff there, but they connected with Daniel because he had been there and he understood them. And I got to say, the kids that he's going to touch in this community are going to change their lives for the better. Because I've seen it, and I'm proof of it today. It does work. What he's saying, it does work. It's all about redemption. And if it's not about redemption, if it's just about our past, then why do we even have a system, the judicial system? Why? What's the point of it if there's no redemption or if there's no rehabilitation? Daniel's proof of that, and he's hope and inspiration to someone else that wants to. It says right there, you mentioned our mission, right? It says our vision, though, is where the future of children are driven by their aspirations, not bound by their circumstances. And that's it right there.
I had the privilege of serving as police chief for the city of Woodlake from 1998 through 2012. And it was during that time, along with the educators in Woodlake, we recognized that we had some real serious gang issues. In fact, Woodlake had one claim of fame at the time that had the most crime in all of Tulare County. Through working with the leadership in the community and putting a lot of good people together, a lot of community leaders, we put together some youth programs. One of which is one that I'm still very proud of today, and it's a camp project. It's in its 15th year. This is a camp project that got at-risk kids out of the community, and we targeted grades 3 through 6. And I wanted to mention that because I saw those figures earlier on the discipline chart here when Dr. Mueller gave his presentation. This is a very significant group of kids that you need to pay a lot of attention to. You know, when you take kids to a camp, and this would be a weekend camp, the kids actually spent an evening with us. And this camp facility was our ranch, where my wife and I lived. It's up in the foothills, out in the foothills of Tulare County. We're looking for speakers. We're looking for folks that can really get the attention of young people, to really, somebody that had a powerful message, someone that's been there. Folks that have paid the price, maybe been to prison, maybe an ex-gang member. So we started putting feelers out, and with no surprise, when I mentioned Daniel Longoria, that's the individual that came out and helped us. Daniel is very gifted, he really is. Remarks were mentioned about this article in the paper. And I don't normally pay a lot of attention to newspapers because they're, most of them are just someone's opinion. But this particular article, the negative one, really pained me. Really pained me because I know Mr. Longoria. There's a whole other side of him that wasn't mentioned at all in that article. I know it because I've experienced a whole lot of time with him. He's been at my home. He's eaten food with us. He spent a lot of time with the kids. He's a very gifted individual. He really is. He has a lot to offer wherever he's employed. You know, I have no question about his integrity or his character. I've heard talk about questionable backgrounds. There is no questionable background. When you submit an applicant through the Department of Justice, you get back a very legitimate response. So I just wanted to put that to rest.
And I am the director of the Woodlake Educational Options Program in Woodlake, California. I'm a 34-year educator, mostly in Visalia Unified School District. However, for the last 9 years, I've been employed by the Woodlake Unified School District. Tonight, I've traveled here to speak on behalf of Daniel Longoria. I became acquainted with Daniel 5 years ago when in the first 3 months as a director of our Educational Options Program, 2 of our students became victims of gang violence. One of those students died and the other lost the lower part of one of his legs. I sought advice from outside sources to try and find someone who could speak to our students about the realities of gang violence. One name kept coming up, Daniel Longoria. I did not know Daniel Longoria, but I was able to contact him through his employer, Courage to Change, a drug and alcohol treatment center for teen boys located outside the city of Exeter. After Daniel presented to our students, I knew he was different than any other speaker I had ever heard. He was soft-spoken but direct. His words were educated, but he spoke to the hearts of students. He looked together, but he spoke of the time of his broken past. He looked straight-laced and boring, but he spoke about a time when he was down. He spoke of his past deeds, the penalties he paid, and the heartache he caused the ones he loved and the ones that he had hurt. In about 90 minutes, he held a group of students in the palm of his hand, and he gently encouraged them. When it was all over, I told myself, this man is gifted. You've heard that a little bit before this evening, before I said it. Fast forward 3 years, and we had a second gang violent death in our community. And again, I reached out to Daniel, but this time I had a different plan. What if we could get Daniel to work with us regularly? What if we could work with our students in Woodlake both as a safety net when they were in trouble, but also as a resource for our staff to use? I asked Daniel to address our leadership team in our district that included the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, and all the principals of the district and other district leadership personnel. After the meeting, our superintendent, Drew Sorensen, called me into his office and said, that guy is special. In short, in the spring of 2013, we used LCAP funding to create a position of prevention education coordinator in our district. The job was flown, and Daniel was one of 8 people that was interviewed for the position. A panel unanimously chose Daniel, and after a thorough background check that included phone calls to references, checking his transcript, which included a narrative of his transgressions, a review of his professional certifications, which included board certification as alcohol and drug recovery specialist, and most importantly, a clearance from the Department of Justice, we offered and he accepted the position. A recently released article about Daniel has been printed, and while it is factual, the article left out the last 19 years of his life. If I would have seen a younger Daniel walking toward me on the street, I would probably have crossed over to the other side in fear. Despite his scary past, Daniel is uniquely gifted today. He has the ability to speak to students and adults alike. He has the street credibility necessary to work with students who may be our most disengaged. He has worked with county superintendents of schools in 4 or 5 different counties, some close to you. He has worked with judges, chiefs of police to develop curriculum to educate on hate crimes and gang violence. He has worked with hundreds of young men and women and has been a part of the process that has made the difference in them turning their lives around from drug and alcohol addiction. Most of all, he has made a positive difference in the world since he has been out of prison. And yes, it was the most dangerous prison in all of the California system. With all my heart, I would like to dislike the person who wrote the article that appeared to want to discredit your hiring of Daniel Longoria, and that strongly insinuated that Daniel was and still is dangerous. However, if I disliked them or spoke negatively about them, I would be guilty of the same wrong they committed in writing the article. They wrote only about what they knew with limited facts. I only know them by one article that they wrote. Instead of celebrating one of the few success stories that come out of the justice system, they chose to scare your community. I will say that no one in our school district was contacted with regard to this article. The article does not mention his work with Courage to Change or any other local county school district. No mention of the multiple local school districts or any of the judges he has worked with. No mention of the law enforcement agencies that sought out his help. No mention of the local politicians who have reached out to him. No mention of the countless people he has helped to overcome addictions of all types. No mention of his being the subject, one of the subject of a recent magazine that was just put out this year, Focus Forward, U-Turns Allowed magazine, that highlights the success stories of former juvenile justice offenders who are now successful adults. This untold story of Daniel Longoria was left out by the article. In closing, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. But I would also like to make just a couple of quick points. One, Daniel Longoria's past is something that haunts him every day. 2, Daniel Longoria is a blessing to all people he comes in contact with. 3, Daniel Longoria is a positive difference maker who is humble, I think you saw that tonight, appreciative of the opportunities of you and others have given him. Number 4, Daniel Longoria is nobody's boy. He stands on his own 2 feet. He does not hide from his past. and he takes full responsibility for his actions. I believe in Daniel Longoria, and I'll be honest with you, I was upset that he left us. However, I congratulate you on your hire, and I wish you success in turning around the lives of young people.